begin to get into that presence. And we begin to see in the renewing of his strength. I've seen many go out and they work a hard week and they're so wore out, but when they fall upon that anointing, and that anointing comes up on them and the moving of the Spirit. You know, I don't want to do anything unless the anointing is in the house. I don't want to do anything unless the Spirit is here to lead. I don't want to do anything unless he is here to be a part of this service, because it is not. I said it is not about me. It is not. I said it is not about you, but it's about what he wants to do. God is wanting to touch in your lives. He's wanting to minister in your lives, and he's wanting to change things in your lives, and he wants to bring total healing in your life. But first you got to believe. Ah, Brother Cook, I believe. Well, why ain't you healed? Oh, Brother Cook, I believe, and I've seen so many things. Have you put your foot down and believed that God's going to do it? Young man I was just reading about, he had broke his jaw and had to preach a message. And he went to this church and they were laughing at him. His head all bandaged up and different things. He had broke a jaw, and back in those days they couldn't fix a jaw like they do today. They didn't have all the technology they did. But he made up his mind, and he told his girlfriend, I made up my mind. I'm going to preach this gospel, and I'm going to preach it there. And all his friends and stuff, he was in college during that time, and everybody heard about it. And he went to one of these little churches, probably about the size of our balcony up there, and he went to one of these little churches, and he thought just a few people would be there because he knew that not many people would want to hear him. But the word got out that he was going to preach with a broke jaw. He was going to preach when he couldn't talk. He was going to preach when he couldn't eat solid foods. But he made up his mind. He said, I'm going to preach anyway. I mean, you know, when God tells you to do something other and you made up your mind to do it anyway, you have to make up your mind first of all. He said as he was walking to that little church, and he began to look, and he seen all these people, probably 100 people standing outside, and he said, well, maybe they haven't moseyed in yet. He began to unwrap himself. And when he unwrapped himself, he said when he got to the last thing, his jaw just fell open. He said his mouth was wide open. And he said when he walked past those, he walked in the building, and he said you couldn't hardly move. There's so many people in the building. And he said they were laughing. And he said as I went up to the podium, he said the minister began to start, and said the song director sung every song he knew to sing. And he kept looking at me and seeing how bad a shape I was in. And he said, finally, I got to the point to just let that man know, you need to just go ahead and let me up there. I mean, you know, some of us will keep putting off and putting off and putting off because we see the outside. We look at the outward appearance, and we keep putting things off because if we keep putting it off, we're not believing God, first of all. We keep looking at that outward appearance and cannot believe that there's actually a healing going to take place. Because we keep looking at that thing in the mirror and saying, well, how can this be? That's because we're flesh. But he said he got up, Pastor Paul. He said he stood there in front of that congregation. He just looked out. He wouldn't look at them. He said as he was looking and taking some deep breaths and different things, he said his jaw was dropped way down. 15 years of age. But he made up his mind. I'm going to preach. He said he began to turn his Bible. And he said he got to the place that he was going to preach. And he said when he got to the place he was going to preach, he began to speak and nothing came out. And he said he heard the loudest pop he had ever seen and heard in his life. And words began to come out. And he said he looked up. And he said my jaw was okay and everybody else's was like mine. God healed him instantly. We've got to make up our mind that God can still do it today.